the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo!
Hello.
How are we doing? Magsy, I got exciting news that I messaged you about earlier on.
You messaged me? You messaged me about it?
Yeah.
Did I reply?
You did reply. Yeah, for once.
Brilliant. So this, folks, is news to me as well because I forgot.
We are super duper international.
Oh, yeah, you did message me this.
Yeah, we did. Super duper international, mate. We've always had a few downloads in like Kazakhstan and all these little weird, wonderful places. And apparently
Your first word to describe these places that download our show, and we are massively appreciative of it. You call them weird.
Weird and wonderful. It means it's like magical, not like literally just an odd place. But I don't know. I've seen Borat. Kazakhstan is weird. You know? And obviously we're incredibly popular in the UK, the States, France. We get quite a few downloads in Germany as well, which is nice. But we started getting downloads recently, mate. Only a couple here and there, like one for certain weeks from a little place called Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan, yeah.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this place before.
I have one of the UFC women champions from Kyrgyzstan.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's a little tiny bit that used to be in Russia.
Yeah.
But apparently we're over in Kyrgyzstan, mate.
With one person.
So in honor of that one person.
But that's how it spreads. You only need that one, and tell a friend, tell a wrestler.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. In honor of our one fan in Kyrgyzstan, I thought this week I might just chuck out the odd little fact about Kyrgyzstan because I knew nothing about the country.
This is going to be racist or xenophobic.
It's not going to be either of those things. I am not racist or xenophobic. How very dare you? I thought, because I didn't know anything about Kyrgyzstan, I thought we could chuck out a few facts.
Or how to say the word.
Kyrgyzstan. I've got it written down in front of me, but I've got it written down, is it phonetically?
Because you can't spell Kyrgyzstan.
I can spell Kyrgyzstan, but it's a lot of G's and Z's and stuff. So
I think there's only like two vowels in the whole of the word.
But it's KYRGYZSTAN.
So there's one.
Yeah, so it's like it doesn't speak, it doesn't sound how it reads. So I've written it down in front of me how it sounds, so I can try and get the word right. And it's Kyrgyzstan, which is quite easy in theory to say, isn't it?
Yeah, just think of Kurgan, and if you're a massive fan of him, you're a Kyrgyzstan.
Do you reckon that's what it is? That country is just full of massive Kurgans.
Just big clown Kurgans. Yeah, that's all they are.
He's like their Hulk Hogan or something. He's like their Sting or
Scottish burger stand. There we go.
Yeah.
And here comes the racism and the xenophobia. Cheers, Scottish Dan.
No, it's not like that at all. So yeah, I thought, because I knew nothing about this country, that during the show I would chuck out the odd random fact about Kyrgyzstan so we can all be educated over the next hour or so.
That's amazing, and hopefully it doesn't drive that one Kyrgyzstani fan away.
If you are that one Kyrgyzstani fan and you do get offended by anything I say, I deeply apologize. It's not my intent, and these are literally facts about Kyrgyzstan. It's nothing, And reach out to us on Twitter. It'd be great to interact, wouldn't it, Mags?
It would, but how disappointed would you be if you found out that it was just somebody using a VPN and they were in the server was in Kyrgyzstan?
No, that obviously went through my mind. Of course it did, and that is what is most
likely. Absolutely did not.
Yes, it did.
Yes, VPN.
No, I know what a VPN is, mate. But that did go through my mind, and it probably is most likely what has happened. But it was just funny seeing a country pop up on our is it analytics, I guess, that I don't recognize the name of. So I thought we'd run with it, mate. So stop fucking bursting the bubble.
We hope you find Sars ignorance charming and not offensive.
No, not at all. So there we go. That's just so everyone's aware before we get into the meat of the show, mate. Okay.
That's so good that you're looking out for our international fans, and like I said to you on the chat, we may have to start taking this show on the road internationally. Pop up
What, like
in
live shows?
no, just do shows specifically like WWE do Crown Jewel, which is not really for us; it's for the Saudi Arabians. We should do maybe a show focused on Tajikistan
Is that a real
or
place?
or Afghanistan. Yeah, of course they're a real
Afghanistan.
place.
I know Afghanistan's a real place. I've heard of that one.
You're
They got a
such
bit
a
of,
heathen. You're
they
such
have
an infidel.
they have quite a bit of bother over there, don't they?
They do. So they
Yeah.
could do with a chain wrestling. So if you're from Afghanistan and you listen to chain wrestling, let us know and we'll throw out some Afghanistan facts.
Yeah, we'll tailor the show to you. So yeah, this week Kyrgyzstan. Next week,
Crown Fools. That's brilliant. That's exactly what our 1 yearly East Asian show will be called, Crown Fools.
Yeah, so this week Kyrgyzstan, next week I don't know, Wales or something. Just
I
very
don't think we'd get any listeners in Wales.
Do we not?
They don't get internet down those parts.
Yeah, when I went to a festival in the North Wales, they didn't even have like real roads. Sharon had to drive.
They are proper backward there.
Sharon had to drive on dirt tracks for a while, and then we had to get out the car, put our tent on our back, and get on a donkey and go across these hills.
You were lucky that you found a donkey. Wouldn't it normally be sheep
or a goat? Oh, I'm here to see Skid Row. Fantastic. How did you get here? By goat.
Brilliant.
But there we go. There we go. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from, potentially Kyrgyzstan. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Sai, an SJP World International World Media Production. Episode 98. I am Sai, and with me, as always, is the King of the Ring to my 2,100 miles to Beijing from Bishkek, which is the capital of Kyrgyzstan.
Brilliant. Okay? Brilliant.
The Olympic hero to my Olympic zero, which incidentally is the number of medals Kazakhstan won in the 1996 Olympic Games, where Kurt Angle won his gold medal. Just so you know.
That's a cool Kazakhstan fact.
I didn't say Kazakhstan. I said Kyrgyzstan.
It's not Kyrgyzstan.
There's too many Zs, man. This is already falling apart.
Apologies to that one Kyrgyzstan fan that we did have.
A podcaster who I fully expect will abandon plans of a seaside holiday next year to visit the beautiful landlocked nation of Kyrgyzstan with me in the summer. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. How are we doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Now, can you repeat all that in Arabic for our Kyrgyzstani fan base?
To be honest, I did try and learn how to say good afternoon. No, honestly, I did. I did earlier on my prep for the show. I was trying to figure out how to say good afternoon, good evening, good morning in Kyrg, I think it is, or Kurz, or no, their language is
okay.
They've got their own native tongue, I guess, for them. Their other languages do bleed into it, but it is their own language. But the problem I had is I can't read the translation. So when you press
the translation, you just I can't read.
So when you click the little button that says like to say what it's to pronounce it for you, to play it via Google, it doesn't matter how many. I looked at 4 or 5 of these translate apps, Google themselves and all that. It just kept coming back with we haven't got the audio for this. So I'm afraid that kind of went out the window quite early, mate.
The effort was there. It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, there we go, mate. There we go. So how's your week been, Mags? You okay?
Yeah, but I've had a cold all week, so I think it is the show that I am actually allergic to. But yeah, just kind of getting into holiday mode now. It's counting down the days. So yeah, it's been good. It's been this weekend. I watched UFC.
Okay.
Brilliant pay-per-view, absolutely brilliant. One of my favorite fighters, Islam Makhachev, is a new lightweight champion.
Bless you. What was that?
So there's a fighter called Islam Makhachev.
Okay.
He's part of the team that is run by Habib Nurmagomedov. You may know of Habib.
I've heard the name Habib, but I don't know about last name.
Habib, the guy who basically beat Conor McGregor, beat up
Right.
Conor McGregor.
Yep.
And he's essentially took over from Khabib's legacy, and he's now the champion. So yeah.
Okay.
And then there was Halloween Havoc as well, weren't there, this weekend?
I didn't see that actually.
No, I didn't. I forgot it was on until the day after, and then I read the results and just thought, yeah, I'm not watching that then.
Okay. So I do watch NXT, but I'm watching NXT from 10 years ago, as opposed to...
And there's only so much NXT that one person can ingest.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And this is obviously for the NXT Rise and Fall podcast that's available on the SJP World Media Network. Look at that. What a plug, eh? What a plug. That was seamless, I think, wasn't it?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
So good. So good. We have a huge show. A massive non-wrestling topic. People just throwing stories into us, mate.
Jesus wept. I didn't know if this would get the traction that it did, but fucking hell, you guys have worked in some horrific places.
Indeed. We have a quite, again, I suppose, similar to last week, quite iconic wrestling match. Certain memories that stick, moments that stick in the memory from this, certain images that we can review later on. But before we get there, we need to throw some stuff in the Hall of Lane. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about next week. I'll do this now, and I'll remind you at the end of the show as well. We are live next week on Sunday night.
So that's this week.
Yeah, but next week's show, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But it's this.
Why are you the way you are? Why'd you do that?
Why are you such a dick?
Yes, so we are next week's show will be live on Sunday. Stop it. On Sunday night. Did we confirm the time yet, Max? Didn't we toy with the idea of going at 8 or 8:30, something like
that? I don't think we mentioned the time, but if you want to go early, let us know in the chat whilst you're there. Would you prefer an early run? If not, it'll be a 9 o'clock. Do you have that? Do you want to go to bed early for school in the morning or work? Let us know.
Well, people have work and school on a Tuesday when we're live on a Monday.
Listen, why are you the way you are?
That's got to be a t-shirt now. I would wear that. Yeah, so we're going to go live on the Sunday night, and that is our Halloween special. Now, our fantastic t-shirt suppliers, our merch suppliers at TeePublic, have given us a prize to give away, which is the choice of any t-shirt from the SJP World Media merchandise store of your choosing. There will be new designs up in time for next week's show as well. And the way to enter, as always, we've done one other, but yeah, as always for Halloween for us in our previous one occasion, is to send us pictures of yourself in your Halloween getup. Not just random gimp masks or whatever you do on a random Sunday night, but your Halloween.
We're talking costume. To you, Dan Griffin.
Yeah, we know your sort, pal. Your Halloween fancy dress costumes. Now, the same as last year, we'll pick the best one. You win the goodies. We've got not just the t-shirt, we've got a couple of bits and bobs as well. A chain wrestling cup beaker type efforts, very similar to the one that I have just here. If people can make this out here, which is fantastic, courtesy of RBF Luxuries, as well as a few other bits and bobs as well. And as I said, the t-shirt that TeePublic are fantastically giving us to give away. Now, the way you can enter is to send your images via DM to the Chain Wrestling Twitter account at @chain_wrestling. We're not going to accept them if they're on the timeline. We're not going to accept them if they're chat to us randomly via WhatsApp or anything like that. They need to be done on the Chain Wrestling Twitter. So they're all in one place, so I don't forget one or lose one or whatever. Because that can happen, believe it or not.
It does.
So, yeah, there we go. I will also throw in extra bonus points if anyone is dressed in the national dress of Kyrgyzstan, just so you're aware. Okay, I don't know what that is, but you could basically pass it off as anything now. Maybe a Kurgan mask. I don't know.
A mask. Do you think that sold well on www.shop.com? The Kurgan mask
in one particular part of Asia, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kazakhstan.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, so that's how you enter. Magsy and I will be dressed up for the live, and we're gonna have lots of Halloween themed stuff going on. The wrestling match we're going to talk about is going to be loosely Halloweeny, depending on which way you vote, and all that good stuff. But yeah, similar to last year. But if you're new to the show this year, that's how it works, Mags, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And the reigning, defending, undisputed Halloween champion, Scottish Danny, set a high bar last year. So we want to see you guys raise that bar and win all those amazing goodies.
Indeed. I mean, again, by all means, get your partners involved. My sister, she only listens to the show every now and again because she's not a wrestling fan, and let's be honest, she probably listens to 10 minutes of me and Mags talk. I think this is bollocks, but she sent some pictures in. The more we get in, the better. Okay, the more we get in, the better. All I ask is that it is via the Chain Wrestling DMs at @chain_wrestling on Twitter. If your kids dress up for Halloween, send those in as well. Not that they should be listening to this show because we're past 9 o'clock and it's a bit of dodgy content. Speaking of kids, actually, Magsy, did you know in Kyrgyzstan the average lady will have 3.3 children in her lifetime?
That's a lot of kids.
It is.
That's because they don't have TV there, do they? They only have radio and podcasts.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So we need to bang out more content to
keep
got to
their
pass the time under control.
Yeah. Otherwise, there's no more room for any more Kyrgyzstani kids.
But the people might see it as an invasion when they start spilling over the borders into Kazakhstan and where China's another neighbor. One of their longest borders is actually alongside China. So there we go.
This is not going to get old fast.
Shall we have a quick look in the chat, mate, before we do throw some stuff into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Lame?
Yes, we shall. The most random bunch of nutters in here. We've got Dan Griffin. Monday, it's mean. You know that. What? I think Dan may have had a stroke whilst writing a Stone Cold promo there. Sharon corrects Dan, thankfully. It's Monday night. You know what that means. Charlie in the house. Hello, Charlie.
Hello,
how are
Charlie.
you? And Scottish Danny. Hello, sir. Dan, we are international. Look at all the bizarre nutters everywhere. Yeah, it spreads like a virus, which is pretty much what Dan says next. This is how it spreads. You only need one, making it sound like the venereal disease of podcasts. Yeah. And the way to get rid of it is rub some cream on and shave it all away. So there you go.
Interesting.
So Sharon, I think she's named our yearly trip into East Asia with Crown Foods. I think that's a brilliant name. Dan says it. I guarantee that Sa thinks Tajikistan was something food related. Yeah, he almost said no salad, but lots of garlic sauce with that.
Yeah.
Whatever you said, you fucked it up, Sa. I mean,
it's just
word vomit. It's just absolute word vomit.
I thought I styled it out, to be fair.
You did. You nailed it. 5 Nerds Go says, petition to get Tajikistan renamed to Tajiristan. Brilliant. Oh,
isn't when they say Stan, though, isn't in like Japanese when they're referring to a gentleman, isn't that almost like a Mr. term to them?
Are you meaning San when they say...
Oh, San. Yeah, that's right. Not Stan. Stan's different.
Wow. The problem I have, I can't read. Perfect accompaniment to our no words. Exactly. 5 Nerds Go says that doesn't narrow it down nowadays. Dan, guarantee for Islam Makhachev's name was a secret McDonald's menu item where you get a chicken burger and a cheeseburger on the same bread roll. Dan Griffin again, Lord Magazine, people hate their job shock. How dare you? I'm not Jacob Rees-Mogg. That's goes. I don't know that name.
I don't know what that is.
He's a politician and he's a Weasley-faced little tosser.
Okay.
Scottish Danny saying, is it me or does CW seem a little like Tommy Robinson is booking tonight?
Whoa. There's no racism or ill feelings here. I'm just trying to educate people in this nation that, we've just discovered.
And on our side, Matt from 5 Nerds says, not enough West Ham fans for him to be booking. There we go. Scottish Daddy said he's coming for that second year win. Can you imagine if he did? If it was like MJF just wins the diamond ring competition every single year.
Yeah.
Dan says singling out the guy who needs a wide angle lens to take a selfie. Classy, lads, classy. I mean, we are both in that exact same boat. So our selfies have to be taken from another room. I mean, man, from next door usually. Matt giving the game away on his costume already, saying he's just going to face paint his arse as Ghostface.
Brilliant.
Jesus Christ. Connor, hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, sir.
Scottish Danny, chain wrestling dark elevation. Is that when you get stiffy in the middle of the night, do you reckon?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And finally, for now, Dan Griffin, Jacob Reese Mags. Fuck you, Dan Griffin. Fuck you.
Ooh. That must be fighting words.
Your Gloucester came right out then.
What's that? When I said
them must be fighting words.
Yeah, that's the whole point, because it's a cartoon character, isn't it? It's one of the people who used to go after Bugs Bunny. Not the bold one, the other one. With a big orange tash. What was his name?
Fog on, leg on.
No, because that was a big fucking bird, wasn't it? Did Foghorn Leghorn have a mustache? He didn't have a mustache, did he?
No, he had feathers. Then
why? When I said
I don't know who the one you're on about. I have absolutely no idea.
Sam? Is that right? Is that the name of him?
Was he not? Yeah, I know what you mean, but he was a cowboy. First of all, he didn't come from Gloucester.
No, I'm not saying that, but his voice. Just play the.
Did he ever say that? I don't think that ever said that. No, we're gonna have this out now. Did Yosemite Sam ever go, "Boy, them's be fighting words"?
I didn't even say that.
Let's go for some Hall of Lame.
The Hall of
Lame. Yes.
Let's go for some Hall of Lame.
You sounded almost Texan for a moment there. You went from Gloucester.
Well, I think that's Yosemite, where Yosemite Sam maybe was from.
What, Texas?
Well, certainly not from Gloucestershire.
Well, no, I know he's not from Gloucestershire. The debate was never about whether Yosemite Sam was from Gloucestershire.
Listen, we've moved on.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, okay, we've moved on because you realise that you're in the wrong. That's what's happened there.
I mean, I wake up being in the wrong, so it's a common occurrence to me.
Oh, poor little Magsy. Go on then, mate. Let's see what you got for us. Another 45-minute heavily.
This will be short, sharp, to the point. So I messaged you earlier in the week saying I've got my next 3 weeks of Hall of Lame entrance basically all lined up.
Impressive, that is, by the way.
And that's because I was actually looking to have 2 in a row, basically linked to each other, but Halloween had to come and get involved in it. So I have got a Halloween one kind of like in the middle. But I watched a video and it really kind of like sparked the reasoning behind why 2 of these Hall of Lames are going in. So you think about wrestling, and one of the most divisive kind of plot uses is authority figures.
Okay.
So for every Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon, there's a anonymous GM. For every the authority, you've got a Dixie Carter.
Mm-hmm.
But they're figureheads, they're characters, they're kind of story arcs. But there is actually in wrestling real authority figures. They are the presidents, they are the bookers, they are the actual managers. And some of them can be just as divisive as what you see on the TV. And one such divisive authority figure was a guy called Jim Herd.
Oh, okay.
So he he got into a very prominent position in WCW through some contacts he had with then owner Ted Turner. He had an executive called Jack Petrick, who brought in Jim Herd as to be the executive vice president of WCW. But he had no wrestling experience whatsoever.
No.
He actually worked as a station manager at a TV station that broadcast wrestling, but his actual input into that was non-existent. He had more time actually in the pizza business because he was a regional manager of Pizza Hut. But because of this friendship, he was brought in 1989, and pretty much straight away showed his whole arse about how he knew nothing about wrestling. Now, back in this time, WCW was pretty much synonymous with NWA. That's that kind of Southern style wrestling. But Jim Herd wanted WCW to be run like WWF. He wanted more character-based wrestling. He wanted it to be more of the over-the-top heroes and villains wrestling, and that does not go down well in the sticks whatsoever. They like their wrestling as it was, very kind of Southern-based.
Yeah.
So he tried to introduce some more New York style gimmicks, which some have been mentioned on Hall of Lane before. He had a tag team called the Hunchbacks, which the gimmick was they could never ever get pinned because they had massive hunches and then the shoulders couldn't touch the floor. Ridiculous. He had the Ding Dongs, which we all know is a tag team that had bells on and looked like dicks, which is brilliant.
Hall of Lame alum.
He also had a wrestler as a lumberjack called Big Josh, who would come to the ring with actual dancing bears. Stan Hansen, Hall of actual former WWF champion, Hall of Famer. He wanted to be part of a comedy cowboy team called the Desperados, which made Stan Hansen up sticks and leave the company. He essentially forced out Jim Cornette and Stan Lane, blaming a lot of WCW's problems on them, which ended up splitting up the Midnight Express.
The bastard.
Even the Road Warriors, one of the hottest tag teams in the history of the business, they were forced out because of Jim Herd's ridiculous ideas for wrestling. But the biggest one, the biggest issue that the wrestling business had with Jim Herd was his apparent hatred of Ric Flair. He saw Ric Flair as being past his prime, that wrestling needed to move on, and he wanted Ric Flair to cut off his well-known bleach platinum blonde locks and to become a character called Spartacus, which Kevin Sullivan was quoted as saying, whilst you're doing this, why don't we go down to Yankee Stadium and change Babe Ruth's number, essentially saying that you don't mess with the person that's holding this company up.
Yes.
He also wanted Flair to take a massive pay cut, which led to Flair essentially leaving the company. And I'm not going to get too deep into Flair's leaving the company and what happened after that, because that's for part 2, the kind of fallout of Jim Herd. But essentially, it was Jim Herd's fault why the NWA title, the WCW title, was shown on WWF TV, and why the real world champion ended up being all over the WWF leading up to Royal Rumble 92. So this week's entrant for me is the fucking idiot Jim Herd.
Mate, I'll tell you what, that's one of the best Hall of Names we've ever had. being the WCW fan I am, I love that. That is fantastic.
Wait till, well, I'd say next week, but next week's the Halloween one, the part 2, it's his magnum opus of the wrestling business.
One of my lasting memories from that whole thing is the first pay-per-view they had after Flair left, and he was advertised for the main event. Oh, okay. Magsy giving me a shush sign here for the people on the audio version. I don't want to spill the beans then. I apologize, mate. I apologize. But that is awesome. That is absolutely brilliant. Jim Herd in the Hall of Fame. Totally deserved. What a bell end.
A ding-dong bell end.
A ding-dong bell end. No, I love that, Magsy. That's a great one. My Hall of Fame is actually very, very close to yours. Same company, and only a few years out, timeline-wise. And this came to me for a couple of different reasons. When I started looking into it a bit more, I realized that I've got to go with this as opposed to anything else that popped in my head during the last week, because this is just, the more I looked into it, the worse it got. And it does kind of link back to last week. Last week, we had WrestleMania 9 from me. And one of the main events of WrestleMania 9 was obviously Money Incorporated versus Hogan and Brutus Beefcake in a tag match.
Mm-hmm.
Now, WrestleMania, obviously, the biggest show of the year for the WWF, and probably, well, not even probably, and wrestling in general. It's the biggest night or weekend now, I guess, in the wrestling calendar.
Now it's a full week.
Yeah,
yep.
Exactly. The NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, and then WCW had their own big events. Halloween Havoc, Bischoff always described as being their biggest wrestling events to him. However, when it comes to history and, looking back through all the great main events and so on pay-per-view, Starrcade is the one, to me, as a WCW fan, NWA fan, etc., that stands out.
Yeah.
Now, amazingly, Hogan and Brutus Beefcake headlined the #1 show in the WWE at WrestleMania 9. They also headlined the #1 show in WCW in 1994. Now, initially, I was going to put the whole pay-per-view in because it is garbage. But I thought, no, I'm going to be even more specific. I'm going to literally break down that main event, chuck that into the Hall of Fame, and the character of the Butcher, played by a good friend of the show, Ed Leslie, who, incidentally, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Ed Leslie, his Facebook profile popped up on my Facebook yesterday.
And he's from Kyrgyzstan.
Saying suggestions for people you may know. So I thought I won't friend request him because he might not like some of my opinions, but there we go. But I imagine he'd be quite happy to have more mates because, let's be honest, he's not very popular. But there we go. At the end of 1994, Hogan was running amok, shall we say, with his creative control, bringing all of his friends into the company. We had Earthquake coming in, and basically the product in WCW took a big nosedive. The in-ring product was terrible at this point. Going into Starrcade, Hogan needed someone to work with. And on the roster at the time, they had the newly signed Macho Man Randy Savage. That would work, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They had Arn Anderson, one of the most talented in-ring performers of all time. They obviously had Ric Flair, who had returned at this point from the Jim Herd nightmare that you were describing, Magsy. We had Sting, of course, Hogan Sting. That's going to be big money in 94, isn't it? 2 baby faces on either side of the company war, I guess. However, Hogan, and this is a big part of the Hall of Fame entrant, Hogan doing favors for his buddies, got Brutus Beefcake a main event shot at the WCW World title. Now, Hogan started to be attacked by a masked man who initially was obviously Arn Anderson. The way he walked was Arn Anderson. The way he hit and kicked was Arn Anderson. It was Arn Anderson in a mask who was attacking Hulk Hogan week after week after week. But there were suspicions, was it Brother Brutai, as he was referred to in WCW at the time. So to counteract that, he was attacked by a masked man whilst Brother Brutai was still out in the ring on one occasion. In theory, to add a bit of, intrigue and so on. But nobody gave a shit because we all knew it was Arn Anderson under the mask. Then Hogan was attacked by 2 masked men at one stage. which was never explained who the second masked man was. That nothing ever went into that until eventually Hogan caught the masked man when he attacked him on another occasion. This went on for quite a while. Pulled the mask off to reveal it's Brother Brutai all along. So they're going to head to Starrcade for the WCW World title, that beautiful big gold belt, and the history of the NWA World Championship on the biggest event of the year. Ed Leslie was going to challenge for it. Okay. Leslie turns up at Starrcade looking like shit. He's bloated. He's nowhere near in good shape. He's losing his hair. It's at that point where you're thinking, just cut your hair, mate. It's that he looked like shit. It's 1994, their prime of 1989. This is, several years have passed. Okay. To be fair, when Hogan arrived in the arena, the crowd did go wild for him. They were really happy to see Hogan. That's probably because they were fed up already looking at Ed Leslie in the ring. This match goes on for best part of 15 minutes. And for the purpose of the Hall of Fame segment this week, yeah, I know. For the purpose of the Hall of Fame segment this week, I rewatched it this afternoon. And I made a couple of notes, which I'm not going to break down and go into now because there's literally nothing to fucking tell you. It was that crap. But if you take away all the raking of the eyes, the raking of the back, which at one point Ed Leslie raked Hogan's back six or seven times in succession as they did a circle of the ring. If you take away the occasions where they were swinging chairs and choking each other with cables right in front of the referee with no DQ or any nonsense like that, you take away anything illegal, shall we say, in that 15-minute match, Magsy, I counted 6 wrestling moves. 6.
That's grim. That's like watching a Jerry Lawler match.
It is terrible. We get one of the shittest sells for clothesline I've ever seen when Hogan clotheslines Leslie in the corner, and he takes 2 steps forward and does a crazy kind of drunk man wobble whilst breathing through his teeth and hissing for some reason. It looked ridiculous. We get an awful sleeper spot where Hogan does his, hand drops once, hand drops twice, and then the hand is supposed to stay up for the 3rd time, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It doesn't. It drops, and Leslie lets go.
He's out.
Yeah. But Leslie lets go and turns around, and behind Ed Leslie, Hogan's arm comes back up and starts doing the finger thing. So the referee's like, "Oh no, he's all right. He's okay." So then Hogan lies down and plays possum to attack Ed Leslie when he comes to cover him, even though Leslie thinks he's already won the match with the sleeper. We then get, just to top it all off, Scottish Danny will really enjoy this. We get our good buddy Kevin Sullivan, the little tiny dwarf troll man, comes out with Earthquake, who could barely get to the ring at this stage in his career. Hogan punches them a couple of times to stall them getting in, which was, we got the visual then of Kevin Sullivan draped across the top rope, almost like a shish kebab on a stick, getting grilled, until his cue came in. And all of a sudden, he woke up, jumped off the top rope and attacked Hogan. And then we get this Macho Man making the save. And I'm thinking, well, if Macho Man's there and it's the main event spot, why don't we just get Hogan versus Savage?
Yeah.
The biggest event of the year for WCW produced potentially the worst match of the year. The various people online, reporters online for different wrestling sites, including Dave Meltzer, listed this as the lowest point in WCW history. And I think there's
how wrong they were.
Well, I think there's a shout that it could be, but there were so many more. But this is terrible. So my entrance into the Hall of Fame this week to go into a very, I suppose, WCW heavy edition of the Hall of Fame to go along with Mr. Hurd is the Butcher, the Masked Man, and Starrcade 94's main event.
And Arn Anderson.
No, you watch your damn mouth. Arn's part in this worked well, okay?
Yeah, I meant that. Arn could have saved this.
Wow.
But yeah, it was Hogan just stroking his own ego, giving jobs for his mates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
Shit. And also, how many names did Ed Leslie have in WCW alone? You had the Zodiac, you had the Booty Man, who we hate on Nitro Nights as well now. Any incarnation of him sucks. You had Brother Brutai, you had
the
Butcher, the Disciple. Yeah. Just changing his name over and over again. I'll tell you what it reminds me of, Maxie. It reminds me of the capital city of Kyrgyzstan, which is now referred to as Bishkek, but for a while was Pishkek and then Frunze. They keep changing its name.
It was Pishkek.
Pishpeck.
Pishpeck.
Pishpeck, yeah. That's what it was. That's what it was, yeah. Similar to Ed Leslie.
Even yeah, but not as many as Ed Leslie. Ed Leslie has renamed multiple times. I mean, I can't say it any better than the guys in the chat. Will there be an Ed Leslie wing to the CW Hall of Fame? I think it should be the Ed Leslie Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you could sponsor it.
The fact that Ed Leslie main evented a Starrcade makes wrestling fans feel uncontrollable nausea.
Yes.
We should get a CWF Brutus the Barber interview episode. We hate you, Ed. We all hate you very much. We hate you, Ed. But Kevin Sullivan did have a nice robe, though. SARS XXS.
Kevin Sullivan's robe, when he came down to the ring in Nitro, was a kid's dressing gown. That's all that was.
I think that's all his robe. His costumes were always a child's, based around a child's dressing gown, weren't they?
Yes.
But yeah, it's a great entrant. It's an absolute. I mean, you just have to say Ed Leslie and then a character name, and it goes in. There's no two ways about it. The guy was a skid mark on the underpants of wrestling.
On the underpants of wrestling. The underpants being Starrcade 94, and his main event being the skid mark. Maxie, are we all caught up in the chat then, my friend? Are we? Is that everything?
Well, they obviously named me Jacob Rees-Maggs, and then I got more stick by saying I've got the glasses for it. I mean, that's obviously going to go over your head, but he looks like Jacob Rees-Mogg looks like a snaky Weasley version of Harry Potter.
Okay.
He's a toff, like a posh. He's just a twat who you would just happily punch in the face and then go about your day. Yeah.
Should I just automatically add him to that list, Maxie, with Celine Dion and John Bon Jovi, of people that I would punch in the face if I met?
Yeah, you would definitely punch him. Yeah. Look him up, and that is your homework. Look up Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Okay.
And you will, even before you hear him talk, you will want to punch him in the face.
Okay. Fair enough. I will do that, mate. I will do that.
So Dan Griffin said he thought you said "them's be farting words." I mean,
"them's be farting words."
it could have exactly been that. Said that we were talking about your Yosemite Sam, and I think Connor was saying that he meant the bald guy. The bald guy was Elmer Fudd, weren't it?
Yeah. Did he say "them's be fighting words"?
No. Didn't he have a stutter? Was it a stutter or a lisp? Elmer Fudd.
Did Porky Pig have a stutter?
It could have been. Yeah, because he goes, that's all, folks. Yeah.
And he was bold, to be fair, when he Porky Pig. He didn't exactly have a full set of hair.
Well, no, but he also wouldn't be. he wouldn't be on the menu in Kyrgyzstan, which is predominantly Muslim.
What an Elmer Fudd is. I'll have a nice bit of Fudd pie.
delicious Elmer Fudd. So Matt from Five Nerds Core has put, on my way back from wrestling yesterday, I got hit on by some drunken Scottish ladies in their 50s. An actual quote as I got on the bus was, "He's all right. I wouldn't mind him behind me for the night." Jeez. And he didn't get home till the day after.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, fantastic.
Said, "Great time." And Dan Griffin, Jacob Rees-Mogg looks like a Victorian sex offender. He looks like a 2020 sex offender as well, though, to be quite fair.
Yeah. So is that what we're saying? Is it he's no, that's not, no, because we're gonna get sued at some point.
I mean, he is in the government, so we don't want to rile him too much. But yeah,
we won't make it to Chain Wrestling 100. We won't make it to Chain Wrestling 100. We'll just disappear.
Black bagged.
Yeah.
Guantanamo Bay.
Shall we get to our non-wrestling topic, Magsy, that all the CWF sent so many brilliant responses into?
Let's do it.
NWT time. Oh, no wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Ooh, lovely.
Lovely.
Okay. Brilliant stuff.
Smoking then, were we, sir?
No,
Vaping?
I was using my vape, yeah, but it's one of these big chunky jobbies, this one. And I've not used it for a while, and I forgot how much vape it actually produces. It's like a Deep Purple concert in here now, mate. This is ridiculous. I can't see anything. So
Smoke on the water.
Oh, shite. Yes, our non-wrestling topic this week is worst at work, and it's basically looking at, initially we were thinking about the worst thing that's happened to you at work, but worst job, worst day, worst colleague, worst boss, anything bad that we can have a little giggle at with regards to your employment lives. And Magsy, did we ever get some responses, eh?
Yeah, you guys need to find new jobs. Jesus wept.
I will read them out in the order they came into us once again. First of all, we have Millwall Chris at Millwall Chris 1 on Twitter, and he says
The first one.
he was the first one who responded. There we go.
What a brilliant start.
That gif is amazing. What gets me is he doesn't elaborate at all about this, but Millwall Chris says, I once removed a nipple whilst in work, and it caused quite a big flood until we could put it back in.
Now, instantly you think flood of blood from his nipple, but since he put it back in, clearly it means something that's stopping some water flooding.
Isn't he a teacher, though?
I mean, where would you be putting a nipple then if you're a teacher?
Where would you be?
I think he works in the school. I don't know if he's a I don't think he's a teacher. I think he works in a school.
Oh, okay.
But
it's still the same scenario.
Millwall Chris's worst day is when the deer escape.
Brilliant. To be fair to Millwall Chris, he doesn't stipulate here at all whose nipple it was. He just says he removed a nipple. It could have been a pupil.
It could have. But why would that cause a flood? And how then could you put the nipple back in?
Blue tack. There we go. Let's move on. Cam at Cam Griff 92. He says here, second week of my apprenticeship, rewiring a house. Being the newbie, I was up in the loft with all the wonderful insulation. Spin on a joist to get back to the hatch. Joist crumbles, foot through the customer's ceiling. And to make things worse, the room was full of collectibles and memorabilia of various Star Wars and Star Trek items. I was about 2 foot away from hanging a Millennium Falcon. Brilliant.
Very Only Fools and Horses, that. Very, very classic.
Yeah, great stuff, man. See, I've never been up in our attic, you know?
You've never been in an attic?
No, never been. I've never been in an attic that I live. I've never been in the attic in this house. I've never been in the attic in my parents' house when I lived there. I've been in my mate's attic, which she converted into like a computer room.
Yeah,
but that was like a separate room. But yeah, when it comes to like literally to the loft or the attic, I've never been up there.
I've had an attic conversion bedroom before.
Okay.
Well, that's some more homework for you then.
Go up in the attic.
Go and check what's in the attic.
I ain't doing that.
Are you scared?
Yeah, I said live up there normally. I'm not even joking.
Liv, go and put this pool table up in the attic.
If we need stuff to go away in the attic, I hold the ladder and Liv goes up and I pass it to her and she chucks it in there.
Wow. That's so mean.
Why? It's not mean. She's very well looked after. I throw food up there for her and stuff.
She's got a candle.
She has. Joshua Goodwin from the NXT Rise and Fall podcast at Joshua Goodwin PW on Twitter. He says here, Argos, my first 2 jobs were warehousing. Treated like a number. I've been there. Mm-hmm. Lied to, not as much as the customers. I hope no one's ever took out the in-house product insurance. He puts in brackets. One fella, who we'll call Lee, because I will assume that's his real name, always had a complaint. Needed consistent praise for doing his job. Used to clock in hours early, thinking he would get extra money. But yes, a miserable, soulless experience. Money was the only thing that mattered. Not a great experience for a shy 18-year-old with self-esteem issues. And we do have quite a few people here, don't we, chipping in to talk about how much they hate retail, Mags.
It's very, very much a hatred of retail.
It
very,
is.
very much.
It is. 5 nerds go in the chat there.
Lives in your attic, apparently. So chuck him a sandwich whilst you're up there. And also, if he brings home some Scottish women, just try and keep the noise down, sir.
That'll be what the racket was last night then. Okay. I was wondering about that, and I was too scared to go out there because I'll tell you what, some of those noises, they were inhuman. We have a bit more from Cam as well here at CamGriff92 on Twitter. He says, another reason I am now off the tools. On top of a set of steps wiring at a B&B, the steps collapse. I'm left on my back on top of the landing, sounding like a piglet squealing away. Owner comes out to ask if I'm okay, to which I give a very convincing nod and wave.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Just on his back, like one of the hunchbacks from WCW, rolling around.
Can't be pinned.
Can't be pinned.
Can't be pinned. Yeah,
what
exactly.
a great gimmick. Dan Griffin, his brother, at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says, started working in retail at 16. Worked the Wednesday shutdown with another new starter, a woman in her 40s. She always left an hour early, leaving me to clean on my own. When confronted about this by HR, she said dead seriously she had to be home before 8:30 or, and Dan quotes, the aliens would get her.
At 40 years old, I think she's past the prime of aliens wanting her. But what
Is
a
there a
fruit
cut-off?
snake. Well, I don't. I would assume that 40, you're a bit. But I mean, I've not been abducted by an alien. I don't think they would want me now. So, yeah, I would assume there's a cut-off.
So, like, oh no, don't pick him up. He's 41. That's really.
I mean, I don't know if it's as pedantic as that. I mean,
Are they IDing people when they put the tractor beam down?
it might just be a visual ID. Like,
okay. Right,
they
yeah.
look young and sprouty. They could withstand these experiments we're going to do them. If we probe their arsehole, it's not going to be like a yawning hippo. That kind of thing.
Okay. Oh, dear me. Do you ever notice as well, when you watch these programs about alien abduction and stuff like that, it's never like somebody who is high up in business and is fully head screwed on, really intelligent. It's always some,
Nutcase.
some nut job who lives out in the deep south in America. He's only got like one tooth in his whole head, wearing a lumberjack shirt, chewing on straw, probably covered in his own moonshine that he's made. Oh yeah, them aliens took me. I had to explain to the wife why I didn't come home for 3 whole days. Yeah, okay, pal.
And they tend to chase cheeses down hills as well. So
you're such a dick. You're such a dick. Oh dear. Dan Griffin continues. You have to excuse me. I got a cough. Aye. Dan Griffin continues. Retail had some terrible customers. We had a woman come in regular who you could smell before you saw her.
Oh, that's
stunk of BO. One day, the store mobility scooter failed and the other was in use. She got up, toddled off, no problem, and left a puddle of piss in the seat. Oh my God.
My God, that's horrific. The absolute animal.
Oh my goodness. A classic in retail, Dan continues, was getting a bollocking if you clocked out late as you'd stayed to finish the job, and then getting a bollocking the next time for leaving a job half finished if your shift ended. Completely unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, can't win. You can never win in retail.
Yeah, exactly. This one tickled me.
Dan actually follows up to both of his stories. Said the woman was a Fruit Loop, used to talk to herself all shift, and you never knew whether she was talking to you or not. To which Matt from 5 Nerds Go says you should have told her your cock had magic powers. You could have anally probed her with it then, maybe. And then there was nothing medically wrong with the smelly woman. She was just a fucking dirtbag. And the 2 managers responsible for maintaining the mobility scooters, rock, paper, scissors for who would clean it.
Oh, amazing.
And an old fella shit himself in store once too. Left a trail of breadcrumbs down the butcher's arm. Wow, that's horrid. That's absolute. Oh,
that's not a good look, is it? And the thing is, if you're working in retail and you're not say, a supervisor or management or something like that, you're not making masses of great money, are you? You're potentially on
No.
minimum wage.
Yep.
And you're the one who's going to get told, "Oh, go clean that shit up, mate."
Yeah, that's I would quit the job.
Mm. Oh dear. Danny, this one cracked me up. This one got me. Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. He says here, in 2014, he was working in Marks and Spencer's dealing with customers on the shop floor. One day, a customer asked me, "Where are the champagne flutes?" I had zero clue what he was on about, so I told him I'd be right back and hid in the freezer storage room until I saw they went away.
He did the Boris Johnson trick.
I mean, why didn't you just go and fetch somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been my suggestion. Like, do you know where the champagne flutes are? But just to go and hide in the fridge.
Oh, Danny in the chat, if you're there, my friend, let us know how long you hid for. To be certain that they had left, let us know how long you were there for.
The follow up as well from Cam and Millwall Chris is absolutely brilliant. They actually nailed down the exact store that Danny worked at, and both of them claimed that they were their champagne flutes. Yeah, just that's a brilliant story, Danny. Absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. At Wrestling Gbus on Twitter, he says here. Sorry, Mags, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh no, I was just saying Danny's confirmed he was in the fridge for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Oh my goodness. Wrestling Gbus on Twitter, he says he used to work in trade retail as well. A guy's order got screwed up. Not his fault, but there was an issue with the delivery depot. Not a huge order either, but I phoned him and apologized on their behalf. An hour later, I get a call from reception. The dude is here and wants to fight him.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
That's amazing. He continues here, he drove 30 miles to fight me. So I go down and explain the situation and manage to defuse it. I get a bottle of champagne a week later from the guy as an apology. But I didn't stay too long after that. Well, okay, so it ended up well in the end then, didn't it?
See, look how nice Mark, aka Wrestling Jeebus, is. That someone wants to knock his block off, and the guy ends up giving him a bottle of champagne.
Yeah,
he's an absolute gem of our community. How anyone can give the guy grief is beyond me.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Exactly. At Pigs Bladders on Twitter, Magsy, they say retail seems a common theme for a lot of us.
It does. It really, really does.
Because you're dealing with people.
Yeah,
because
they are bastards.
You know, and people are retail seems to be a common theme for a lot of us. Like the shoplifter who was running out of the shop, and as he did, a turd fell out of his trouser leg.
It wasn't in the butcher's by any chance, was it?
Yeah, was it the same place? Or the one with the catheter leaking all over the floor, which is another issue. Maybe the one who attacked me for nothing, or just the rudeness of customers in general. Yeah, just people just seem to think they're just have some sort of right to talk to you like shit when you work in retail or food as well. When you work like, you know, in a restaurant or something like that. I don't understand why people got to be dicks to anyone.
Yeah, it's just people are a bunch of Karens and Kevins and just arseholes, absolute arseholes.
Yeah, without a doubt. Pig Sputters here explains a little bit more about the turd falling out of the trouser leg. He had a frozen turkey under one arm, leaving a turd as he sprinted away from the security guard. It sort of fell out of his trouser leg and rolled under some shelving. It had to be checked to see if it was a kiwi fruit in his pants he was stealing, but it really wasn't.
Can you imagine? Go and retrieve that kiwi fruit and you're there, led down, stretching under a shelf, and you grab it and it ends up being a warm, fresh turd.
Just a rolling chod. Oh dear me.
That's horrible.
I'm glad these Monday evenings we can provide this, you know, highbrow level of entertainment for people.
In Kyrgyzstan.
In Kyrgyzstan. Pig's Bladder also says here, not retail related, but he did once drive a forklift truck through an office door by accident. And at the same job, he was hit in the eye by a flying nail.
Brilliant.
Fantastic stuff. Dear me. We're going to travel now, Magsy. We're going to travel. We're going to go past Kyrgyzstan and we're going to head right to the other side of the world. And we're going to speak to, read out the tweets that we've received from our good friend Chris Mangle, all the way from Australia. He says here, prior to becoming a carer for family, I worked for nearly 24 years over just 2 companies. I did nearly 20 years for Wolseley, who own Plum Centre. Started at 18 in the warehouse and worked my way up to the manager of a branch. Oh, well done. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
On the
Amazing.
boiler parts division. Eventually, they moved our branch in with a larger plum centre, as they had done throughout the rest of the country to save costs, etc. Within 12 months, they gave their manager redundancy and shoved all that work my way. Went from 5 staff to nearly 30 and a shitload more hassle. Extra money? Oh, not yet. I knew my side of the job, but didn't have a clue on their stuff. I constantly asked for more money, was told I was getting things wrong, and held on for redundancy. I used to start at 5:30 a.m. and not get in at night till 8:30. My goodness.
Well, they took the piss out of you.
Yeah, basically, they just sound like they were just taking you for a ride, mate. Still not good enough, they thought, though. Eventually, just before my 20th year, they wanted to move me to another branch further away. I refused, which I was told I would have to resign, which I did.
So they didn't have to pay you out no redundancy. 20 years of redundancy is a lot of money. They're not stupid.
They're bastards. They are absolute bastards, aren't they? He says here, Chris, he got a job at Travis Perkins, not management, but the first day he was there, they told him your dinner hour is at 12 and you finish at 4:30. Virtually the same money. No prizes for which job I preferred. And that's great stuff. That's really good to hear, Chris, that you got out of that hellhole. Because, I mean, ultimately, that sort of thing ends up making people ill.
Yeah, of course it does. You should always work to live and not live to work.
Yes, there you go. I'm very fortunate that I really do love my job and it fits in around other stuff I want to do and that. So when I look back at other jobs I've done, I think to myself, man, what was I doing for so many years? What an idiot, you know? But I'm glad Chris has sorted that out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me, bit of a tickly throat. Connor Knows Soccer at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. He says here, for context, my job is covering local high school sports. Oh, that sounds like a cool job, Maxie, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think he's mentioned it a few times before that he does local sports and commentary. So yeah, it's cool. That is when you have a job that you like, you enjoyed like that. It's not even like working. It's like getting paid to have fun.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. When attending a game I was covering online and taking notes of player names, numbers, and stats, I've had a parent come up to me, up to the press box where I was sitting, clearly doing my job, and started ranting about how I don't do my job correctly and that I should be more precise with my stats and stories. I first ignored the woman because I had a job to do. And after a minute of her rant, I politely asked her to email my boss and talk to him. In brackets, Connor's explained here, I'm partially employed by the school. He continues, after I did that, she got even more upset. So I went downstairs to the field, got the athletic director, who was Connor's boss, and he sent up 2 on-duty police officers to escort her out the stadium. Jeez, how aggressive was this lady being?
Yeah, you missed a bit out. He says, after I told her to email my boss, she went on a rage-filled swearing rampage where she said every word in the book and some very creative stuff and called me a certain slur, and I had enough and turned around and looked at her, handed my stuff over to her and said to her, here, do my job. And
I can see
even more upset. Yeah. People are dickheads. It's as simple and clear as that.
Yeah, people are assholes.
They are.
Oh, dear me. James at Yamalroit on Twitter. Have I said that? I struggle with that every week. Why do you change
every
it
single week?
James? Did you change it just to mess with me when I read out your tweets? Is that what we've done here?
I think it may be. It's just so you can hear the Gloucester in you.
James says he used to work for Argos in the call center complaints department. Oh man, that must have been horrific.
Oh, it's like the worst part of retail, isn't it? Customer complaints.
Oh man. A few stories, but here's a standout. Christmas Eve was always horrific. Had a call off a lady claiming as her kid's present had not turned up when expected. I'd ruined Christmas, and she did put she put her child on the phone for me to explain that. Oh
And you
my
would.
God.
You would, though, wouldn't you? You'd be like, hello? Hi. Yeah, my mum said you've ruined Christmas. I have. And also, Santa's not real. Goodbye.
Bloody hell, Mags. You can't be shouting stuff out on a YouTube video.
On,
Kids might be
on
watching.
Christmas Eve, if someone is giving you crap at Argos, and first of all, if you're shopping for your Christmas presents at Argos, then you're abusing that child in the first place. But
Why?
to leave it to...
Why?
Why? I love Argos.
No, I'm not saying I particularly love Argos, but if that's a place where you can get something your kid wants, what's the problem?
I was just trying to be pedantic.
Uh,
Apologies to all the working class people who adore Argos.
Oh, listen to you, Lord Mags.
Jacob Rees-Maggs. No, but if you're ringing up on Christmas Eve and you've left ordering your kids' Christmas present till that point, you're the bad person, not the people on the end of the phone trying to sort your problem out.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. If it's Christmas Eve, you have to put it in there.
Dan Griffin, tell your mum she's a mad twat for putting you on the phone.
Oh my God, I can't. I would be, something like that with a little kid, man. That'd break my freaking heart. Even though it's not your fault, it's the parents' fault for messing that up. I mean, if they've been promised a certain delivery time and it's not been stuck to, then okay, you could argue it's not necessarily the parents' fault. But surely you need to plan for these things. It's Christmas. You know people are going to be busy. Those shops are busy. Delivery is going to be busy.
This is it, exactly. I mean, how many times do you hear over the Christmas period that the last day for postage is such and such a day? If you really leave your Christmas till the very last minute, you are going to run into problems. It's as simple as that. So don't blame the poor people on the end of a phone. Have a look at yourself and think, I could have got this a week ago or a month ago or something like that.
Indeed, mate, indeed. And to finish off, we will get the last one from @5NerdsGo.
No,
and we have
Jesus
here.
Wept. This one dropped not long ago as well.
Yes, this came in.
I saw the notification.
I went for a shite at a job interview and ended up flooding their bathroom.
Brilliant.
Did you get the job? You're in the chat. Let us know. One of my old bosses got fired for watching porn and stealing money at the same time.
Watching porn while stealing money. Both hands were in use at the same time.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And one of my former colleagues walked from Marylebone to High Wycombe.
Is it not Marylebone?
Marylebone, okay. Marylebone to High Wycombe because his prostitute was more expensive than anticipated. Fantastic. Is that a long distance?
I mean, it wouldn't be worth the story if it was like just around the corner, would it?
No, that's true. That's true. Amazing. Let us know if you did actually get the job where you flooded their bathroom because you're humongous turd.
Yeah, he still works there probably.
there's still an out of order sign on that lavvy.
Mary LeBorn was in a completely different line of work. Yeah, but she was the prostitute from High Wycombe.
That's where I'm getting confused, mate. That's where I'm getting confused. Right, okay. That's all we've got from Twitter this week, my friend, unless I've missed anybody out.
You've missed Steve-O.
Oh, did I miss Steve-O? Oh, no, I even saw Steve-O's tweet because I responded, didn't I? Because I was sad because we're not getting a Steve-O time this week.
But there is Steve-O time because we'll just read it out anyway. He saw this very late, so there is no Steve-O time. But he has mentioned this on his own podcast, Total Steve-O, and he does rant on the Elite FPL videos. Even did one this morning about the scum that he works with. And doesn't he work for like Tesco as well? Yeah. At least he got his weekly mention.
Yeah.
And also,
love you, Steve-O. Love you.
We absolutely do. Matt confirms that he was offered the job but rejected it because of the block toilet, or because of the staff admitted to stealing stuff and he didn't want to get involved. And it's about 26 miles. So the person did a marathon
just to get laid.
Save a few quid on a prosy. Interesting.
Well, he obviously spent his taxi fare or whatever, didn't he? I assume. Or bus fare.
Can you imagine
do you-
getting a bus to a prostitute?
Do you
That's
get?
grim.
I can't imagine using a prostitute full stop, to be honest, Maxie. But it's nice
And
to know that you have standards for
a
your
prostitute,
transport.
surely with a prostitute, the point is to pick him up in a car. So why did he walk?
I don't know.
Did he give the prostitute a backer?
On his BMX.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, turns up on a scooter. Hold on, love.
Just a skateboard.
I bought my skateboard. I was going to catch the bus, but I thought that £2.75 might get me a little extra. Oh man, Maxie, what about yourself, bud? What about yourself?
You know, some of my stories are nowhere near as grim as these heathens. So as a youth, I worked in a factory that did plastics. So it's like plastic injection molding, and I ended up being one of the line technicians. So basically, you keep the machines filled with these plastic. They're almost like little pearls to make like the kitchen strainers, waste paper bins, all kinds of plastic stuff. So we had to use forklift trucks a lot because you're shifting pallets of plastic around. And between the little crew of staff, we used to race the forklift trucks. So you have obviously electric ones, and then you have the ones powered by gas canisters.
Okay.
Now those are beasts. Those gas canister ones are absolute beasts. So we would race them out in the yard. And one time, we were racing these forklifts, and I tried to do a full lock on the forklift, and the forklift tipped over, and that was quite frightening. We had to use the other forklift to tip it back over before the bosses found out that there was a forklift on its side. Yeah.
Brilliant.
There was also a guy who worked in the warehouse next to ours. It was joined by a big kind of like a roller door. And he was simple. It was not a full shilling, but he was good at his job. Apart from he didn't have the due care and attention when he drove a forklift. So one time he was going back into the warehouse, and he had his forks on his forklift way up high, and he ended up driving this forklift full blast through this roller door, but the forks hit the roller door at the top, and he did thousands of pounds worth of damage to the roller door and the wall behind it. So that was fun. There was one time when I accidentally almost killed somebody. So these plastic pearls, they come in kind of like sacks, almost like potato sacks, and they're all stacked on a pallet around about 7 foot high. And before there was legislation about it, we used to stack these pallets one on top of each other. So you're looking at like a maybe 14, 15 foot high stack of plastic pellets. And I accidentally nicked the bottom bag of a pallet with the forks. So that meant it started slowly leaking out. Now, what we normally do at that time, because obviously there's not much you can do to stop it. So we tape the bag up like from the outside with like brown packing tape. I didn't do a very good job of this brown packing tape, and over the course of the next few hours, that bag leaked all of its pearls out, and it kind of altered the structural integrity of the pallet. So whilst somebody would just finish walking down the aisle of this factory, the top pallet just collapsed off the bottom pallet, and yeah, they weigh an absolute ton. So
Yeah.
that would have been somebody absolutely flattened. So I had to clean all that up as well. And then the last story, and it's probably one I shouldn't actually be telling because
which makes it oh so more interesting.
So I'm gonna have to make sure I do not give any kind of details of the person away, right? But I did some work in the care sector, and I ended up working in a sheltered accommodation building for elderly people. It wasn't kind of like the hands-on where you're in an old folks home. It was more they had their own flats, and you do kind of like menial tasks for them, maybe like helping with like food, things like that. But this unit also had what were some cottages across the road. So we would sometimes be called to go to one of those cottages to help whatever the elderly person needed for the staff to go and do. So I was working an evening shift this one time, doing my normal routines, making people cups of tea, blah, 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 blah. And I get a phone call from one of these, the elderly ladies who lived in the cottages. And she goes, "Can you come over and give me a hand?" So yeah, I'll be on my way. Comes into a cottage, says, "Hello, how are you?" And she was there in her bed, which was in her front room, and she pulled the quilt off, and underneath the bed, she was totally naked, and she was, I think, 90 years old at the time. And she propositioned me. She said, "Can you come and get in bed with me?" And I'm like,
Okay.
"No, love. I've just had my tea. I don't want to be sick." But yeah, I got propositioned by a 90-year-old woman to get in bed with her whilst working as a carer.
Why, you stud.
I mean, I quit the job and slipped her one, obviously.
Yeah, of course. That was the issue, just the timing of it, wasn't it? Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dear me. Dear me. I haven't really got many stories like this, to be honest, Max. I mean, there was an occasion where I
Bollocks.
worked. Well, no, I mean, not ones that I haven't told before on the show. There was an occasion where I was working for a supermarket part-time as a youngster, and I got a warning because I threw a Cadbury's cream egg at my supervisor, and I really wanted to hurt him with that cream egg. You mentioned fork trucks. In my early 20s, when I was, shall we say, a little bit more relaxed with my intake of alcohol and other things, I once fell asleep at work whilst driving the fork truck. That could have been quite a bad day. I was just we were going dead slowly because I was talking to somebody next to me, and as they were talking, I literally just went
Brilliant.
like that, where I had about 2 hours kip and various other scenarios, like, you know. But there was somebody I used to work with at a place, again, funnily enough, a plastics place, same as you mentioned there. And I won't name names because it's unfair, because he was a lovely fella, but he just wasn't the brightest. And this guy, you mentioned banging into the door, the roller doors and so on. I could fully sympathize with that, because the rule was always open it to the max.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, he never did this. He would regularly hit the door. They would repair it. And then on more than one occasion, the same day it was repaired, he would hit it again.
Jesus.
And as far as I know, that guy still works there. I don't understand.
He must still be on minimum wage.
Well, maybe. I don't know. But that's kind of it, mate, really. I just want to say thank you to everybody in the CWF and on the chat and on Twitter and all that sort of great stuff for messaging into the show again. We keep saying it, but this show doesn't work without you. So thank you so much for your stories. And some of them, you know, obviously more poo related than others, but they tickled me. So I'm okay with that.
And I'm just glad that their horrific experiences in the work industry has provided so much fun and enjoyment for us. So keep it up, guys.
And we can, you know, we've got the game set now, haven't we, for Chain Wrestling 100. I was thinking about reviving the old favourite Title or Toasty, maybe for a quick 10-minute go, seeing as it's Chain Wrestling 100 and we like to have a little nostalgia feel to it. But no, we're going to play Kiwi or Poo.
And it's a competition of taste.
Oh my god. Okay. Max, is there anything in the chat?
Oh, it's definitely a kiwi.
I like kiwis.
You would.
I like kiwis. Which mean you would. What is wrong with liking a kiwi?
They're just horrific, aren't they? I mean, any food that's furry that's warning you not to eat it.
You don't eat. No, I can hear the words in my head already before I even say
You
it.
don't eat the fur.
Dan Griffin's going to jump all over
eat
this.
around the fur.
You don't eat the furry bit, is what I was going to say. But oh my goodness,
Brilliant.
I really hope my kids aren't listening anymore.
And that's why Sharon is so unimpressed with you.
Fuck's sake. Or go dive in the chat, play the jingle or something. Crying out loud.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So Dan has got multiple more stories. Jesus wept. I was once asked by a defeated looking woman to tell her son off. Checked if she was sure. I shouted in the kid face to stop mucking the glass and just clean. He cried and she got mad. So she got mad because you did what she asked you to do. That doesn't make sense.
No.
And then Dan also says, was it the sheer force of the log that flooded the bathroom, or did you clog the shitter? No, it just broke the toilet. It was just that solid. It smashed through.
It was like a turd torpedo and just broke the porcelain.
Turd-pedo.
Turd-pedo.
So Matt says it's 26 miles to Howickham, so that's a long stretch to go for saving money on a prostitute, and it's 20 quid train journey. So how much was the prostitute then if you're willing to stump up 20 bats to get there? He'd have made time quicker if he'd have worn his heelers. Brilliant.
This is brilliant. The way you're sat here going, looking at the financial situation here. You're literally looking at the monetary, situation. Going, well, 20 quid. Well, how much was she then? If it was worth it, they're trying to break it down as a transaction, as opposed to the fact.
Got to get VPN value for money, sir.
There you go.
Dan with another story. His warehouse manager at his old store was 6'9", built like a brick shit house. And no one liked the store manager. So when the store manager got called away on his lunch, the warehouse manager wiped his sweaty knob on the store manager's Coke can. Oh, so I've got a story about that.
Brilliant.
So I was working for a different factory. I was part of the stores team, and there was a girl in there who always had a can of Coke with her lunch. So one time we pierced a hole in the top or near the top, so it didn't leak all over. But when she opened it and started drinking it, it poured Coke all the way down her blouse, and she was not a happy bunny whatsoever. You're on mute, sir. I just hope you know.
What a professional. I can sympathise with that because our Liv used to do that to me all the time when we played darts on a Sunday with some of the footy lads. She'd always just, take my dart when I weren't looking, pop a couple of holes in my can, and I did that just literally every Sunday, just soak myself.
Yeah, it's the old ones are the best ones.
But she was like 8.
Dan says kiwi or cack. That's a good name.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
We're not really. He also said, I wanted the money up front. Brilliant. Yeah, there was no way I was having to do on a 90-year-old. Yeah, that's grim.
This show has taken a really dark turn this week, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this was your idea as well for a topic.
I'm not proud of us.
Again, I once denied a woman a service because she was being racist to another customer. She tried to get me reprimanded by the manager, but the manager then barred her from the store.
Brilliant. Good work.
And the old ones are the best ones. Is how Max ended up piping the old lass. Brilliant.
Oh dear. There's no substitute for experience, my friend. There's no substitute for experience. And all this talk about prostitutes and so on and cost or whatever, you could potentially pay a lady of the night with gold, which is actually the over 50% of the exports from Kyrgyzstan, Mags.
that was the most tenuous link because I don't think people are rocking round paying prostitutes in gold.
Well, maybe they should. Maybe they
I
should.
mean, maybe that's why he walked from High Wycombe to Marylebone because she
Over
wanted paid in
50%,
gold.
mate. Over 50% of their exports. That's a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot of gold.
It's a very hilly area, apparently.
Fuck you.
Shall we talk a bit of wrestling, Max?
I love how you try and serious it off, though. Apparently, it's hilly.
It is.
And he's like, I love gold.
Oh, come on then. Let's talk some wrestling, mate.
Thank the Lord.
Let's get ready to rumble!
So we have a street fight to cover this week, don't we? From
Because you won again.
I did.
That's like 5 in a row now. You're taking the piss.
I can't help it, mate. You know, I can't help it. I voted for you with the Royal Rumble the other week.
Oh, well, that makes everything better then, doesn't it?
Well, I've done my part. You know, it is what it is, isn't it? Yes, we have a street fight from the King of the Ring at pay-per-view 2001. Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon. And yes, it's the one with the glass. That's the what we're talking about. Magsy, how long ago did you last watch this?
About 3 hours ago, maybe.
Okay, dickhead. How long ago for this show did you last watch this?
I don't think I've watched it too recently. It's a match that you see so much of because it's always in like the opening scrolls of pay-per-views and Raw and stuff like that. But it's not a match that I remember going back to and visiting too many times. I know I've seen it more than once, but I don't think it's been too recent that I've last seen it.
I'm pretty much the same. You have those iconic moments, don't you, that you see?
Sorry, that just absolutely tickled me. Grab a Bovril and your least crusty blanket. It's story time.
Dan Griffin in the chat. Jesus Christ. Okay.
The one that doesn't snap.
Dude. Yes. So I remember the certain, obviously the glass moments and so on. But there's a lot that goes on in this match that completely slipped my mind. And again, I don't think I have seen this in a very, very long time. But I mean, to get us here, effectively, Kurt Angle was having like a reenactment of his medal presentation.
Well, he'd regained his medals, I think. Had they been stolen by Chris Benoit, and he'd won them back. Yeah, right. I think that's the storyline. And
Shane interrupted this, started saying that he's got 3 letters as well, the same as same as Kurt Angle has his 3 eyes, but Shane's 3 letters are WCW because this is around the Invasion Angle time. And he goes, "Oh, do you know what one of the W's could stand for you, Kurt? Wussy." And apparently that riled up Kurt Angle enough to
his face was fuming at being called a wussy.
Man, I think that was not some of the best dialogue they've ever delivered.
No, but it angered poor Kurt. So he delivered because he had his medal podium, didn't he? It's like
yes,
where you get your bronze, silver, and gold. And Shane was kind of showing off on the gold podium, and he got the angle slam from the top of the podium.
He did indeed. And that sort of leads us to this eventually via a few more back and forths on the weekly television. And Kurt Angle challenges Shane to a street fight. But Kurt also is in the King of the Ring tournament as well. Yep. So he ends up working 3 matches this night, doesn't he?
Yeah, very reminiscent of Bret Hart when he won the King of the Ring and he essentially carried the show. Kurt is easily the star of this show. He works wonders for this show. So yeah, props to Kurt.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. The entranceway is something I want to talk about first of all. Obviously, we've got the iconic glass panels, which we're going to come to later. But that massive, I can't figure out if it's a throne or an electric chair or a combination.
It's an electric chair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And the pyro, the fireworks, etc., etc. I thought that's fantastic. I really do hope with Triple H now in charge, they go back to some of these more unique setups.
That electric chair was huge as well. Really,
They used
really
it the following year as well, didn't they?
Yeah, and I liked as well the screen setup, because you had like the King of the Ring screen dead center, but then you had 2 screens for the wrestlers' videos and the music and stuff like that. I thought that was a really cool setup.
Yeah, it did look great. Again, like I said, I hope they bring this back. But
Mhm.
we have Jim Ross and Paul Heyman on commentary. One of my probably, even though they haven't done it much for the WWE, one of my favorite commentary duos, because I think with Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, sometimes they sort of fall into being a bit too comfy. Whereas Heyman, I think, especially when the alliance angle really kicks off and Heyman is full on bad guy, he really needles Jim Ross through that commentary, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he riles Jim Ross right up. He knows how to pick at Jim Ross to get a reaction out of him. Definitely. Yeah, I'm in the same agreement as you. This is such an underrated partnership. Both are so damn good. One thing that was kind of shocking to me. I watched quite a lot of this old King of the Ring show. Taz was doing backstage interviewing. That was very odd, very, very odd.
Yeah, the wheels fell off Taz very quickly. Though, was it Rumble 2000 he debuted?
Yeah,
and there was a big hype around that and the reaction that night and so on. But it literally took a couple of months, didn't it, before he was
very.
Again, yeah, because of his size and he had a certain attitude backstage, and the wheels fell off Taz as an in-ring competitor quite quickly, I think.
Ironically, came in debuting and beating Kurt Angle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good link there, Maxie. I'll go there next week. The match start. Well, first of all, Kurt Angle coming to the ring with hair is strange.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it was weird when he first had his head shaved, but now that is what I think of when people say Kurt Angle, the bald Kurt Angle. But now you see him in these older matches with hair, it is damn strange.
And he looks so young as well compared to a bald-headed Angle. But he's a fucking specimen, though, isn't he? He's a big, beefy boy.
He is indeed. And he, in my opinion, one of the best to ever do it as well. He's absolutely fantastic.
He just got it, didn't he? From like that transition from like Greco-Roman wrestling, amateur wrestling to professional wrestling. A lot of people are not good at making that transition. He got it instantly. He just knew how to be a face. He knew how to be a heel. He got he just got everything about the wrestling business, and he was an absolute star.
Yeah, without a doubt. The match starts with Kurt Angle, and I think this is the right way to start something like this. Shane is stood in the ring. Kurt Angle enters the ring and then dives at Shane because he's obviously angry. That's why he wanted the street fight and so on. Sometimes I think that is little touches that get lost when you have people who are in a big feud or big personal angle going into matches, and they tie up and start working. I want to see them, if it's a personal issue, I want to see them fight.
Yeah, and Angle going straight to his wrestling base, essentially looking to embarrass Shane with the very kind of like amateur waistlock takedowns and stuff like that. Yeah, he's trying to show Shane that he had bitten off way more than he could ever chew, and just wanted to absolutely just destroy him.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned there about the amateur style. A couple of occasions he goes to that kind of starting position, doesn't he, for the amateur wrestling, to invite Shane in to try and take him on in that format. I quite liked that because they did it the first time, and Kurt obviously spins around, counters, and gets the better of him.
Yeah.
The later occasion, Shane's like, no, I ain't getting tricked by that, and just
volleys him.
Yeah. And the noise was quite dramatic, wasn't it?
Yeah, just absolutely volleys him in the ribs. But that's the street smarts, I suppose, of Shane, like living in the ghettos of Greenwich, Connecticut. You have to learn to survive.
Exactly. Kurt Angle's bleeding quite early on in this match as well. He has a cut around his eye from those, thunderous Shane McMahon punches, of course.
These were actually that bad as well. It's only like in his later career that he's got so lame at throwing punches. I think at this time, because he was relatively new into wrestling and he was trying to be one of the boys, it looked more realistic in 2001. Certainly more realistic than it looked in like 2021.
Yeah. Kurt Angle hits quite a few suplexes as well, as you would expect, and they all look just absolutely perfect, don't they? They're just fantastic. He's so good at that.
Yeah, and props to Shane for taking him as well, because when you're a billionaire's son and he wasn't a trained wrestler at this time. This was almost kind of like a vanity project for Shane, wanting to be part of the business. But props for him to going into fights like this, into matches like this, where he takes a beating. There's no two ways about it. He absolutely takes a beating. So you've got to give him props for that.
There's a moment as well where I suppose it kind of gets overlooked, I think, or forgotten about by me anyway, when you see the brutality of what comes later on. Angle gets sort of thrown to the outside, or attempted to be thrown to the outside, but he takes I think it's the middle rope, basically across his throat. It's almost like it's mistimed slightly. That could not have been fun. Yeah,
I think he's mentioned that in a podcast before that hurt. And there's another spot where he gets suplexed on the concrete on the ring entrance, and he says he instantly they booked that on the fly, him and Shane. He said, and he instantly regretted it because he thought he broke his tailbone when he took the landing.
Yeah, that wasn't good. And again, the noise of hitting the deck as well. You can just hear it, can you? That sort of horrible thud to it. It's like, oh god, that does not sound good at all.
No.
Shane does a couple of moves off the crowd barrier as well. There's one where he jumps onto it, just like keeps his balance and springs off. There's another one where he kind of has to wait for Kurt Angle to come over, because maybe Shane's gone a bit early potentially.
Yeah, the referee, luckily though, kind of like gets involved, and then it's the flying clothesline, I think.
Yes. Yeah. From there, we start getting some batshit crazy stuff then, don't we? Because the kendo stick comes out, the bins come out, a piece of wood comes out as well, which will come into play in a little while.
Yeah, the street sign. One thing I've always been impressed with Shane, he uses the street sign and the bin lids to essentially clock Angle over the head, but when he throws when he whips Angle into the ropes and he jumps with the sign, his hand time just seems unreal for Shane McMahon.
It looks very good, doesn't it?
He's able to almost stay in the air for way longer than you would think a guy of his size would be able to. It's it does look really, really good.
Yeah, and it's in midair as well. He's not just putting up the sign and flying towards them. He's actually moving it back and hitting them whilst in midair as well. It looks fantastic, I think.
It absolutely does. And then we see him Kurt attempt an enziguri as well. I thought this was really good, where Shane ducks the enziguri and then slaps on the ankle lock. That was so good of Shane. Really, to use Kurt's own move against him, that would have been absolutely bittersweet. Kurt
goes into the steps at one point as well. That didn't look too comfortable. But then when Shane is trying to pin him, he doesn't kick out, he bridges. That was quite unique.
Yeah, and then the way Shane kind of like attacks him when he bridges first, like with that the kicks and then an elbow, and then just a gorilla press slam to get Kurt to break the bridge. But yeah, I think he bridges like maybe 3 or 4 times. It's really, really well done.
Yeah. Shane McMahon also hits a DDT, which I thought looked quite good.
Yeah, the float over one, not as smooth maybe as the Rocks, but certainly for a novice at this game, he does pretty well with it.
Yeah. But then he follows up with a really shit looking sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter where he fell over first of all.
Yes.
And then Kurt nicely leaves his legs perfectly in place and then allows him to slap on the sharpshooter properly. Yeah, I mean, does anybody do a sharpshooter quite like Bret Hart? No. It's often imitated, never duplicated, I think.
Especially The Rock. His looks like shit as well.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Kurt Angle escapes the sharpshooter, however, by getting hold of the kendo stick and tanning McMahon's arse.
I thought that was very clever. That was a clever way to escape the sharpshooter. Yeah, and then we get the trash can shot by Shane, and then the shot to the ribs, and then Shane tries to Brock 2 years earlier, because he attempts a shooting star press, and Angle's like, I ain't having that, moves out the way, and Shane lands ribs first on well, he doesn't even catch the trash can clean. He kind of like clips the trash can, so that must have been absolutely brutal. But to see Shane hit that shooting star press, yeah, the crowd went absolutely wild for it.
Yeah, it was quite impressive. One halfway round, I thought, oh god, he ain't gonna make that.
And he just gets there.
Yeah, exactly. This leads to them then fighting down the aisleway, and then we get to the glass, Magsy, don't we? Do you want to talk us through a bit of this?
Yeah, so it's essentially a slugfest going up towards the glass. Shane gets smashed into the leg of the electric chair, and then Kurt falls over. He trips himself up whilst Shane's on the floor. Now that could have been intentional because obviously they've got to talk through the next spot.
Yeah.
But if I actually rewound it to see, and Kurt actually does trip over his own boot, the idiot.
Oh.
But yeah, they're lining up for Shane to be belly to belly suplex through the glass. Now, according to multiple sources, one of the glasses was supposed to be sugar glass, which explodes into a million pieces, but is relatively safe, used in the movies and the like. But the decision was taken to switch out the sugar glass because it was actually melting when the pyro was going off. So they put in standard plexiglass. But I don't think anybody told Shane and Kurt. So when Kurt goes for the first suplex, you can see him and Shane Gene each other up, saying, "Are you ready?" And he suplexes him through it, and he hits the glass essentially back first, head towards the ground.
Yeah.
The plexiglass does not shatter whatsoever, and Shane lands on his head, just essentially sliding down this plexiglass. He looked away with the fairies after that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He was not there, was he?
No. The referee checks on him. The Angle even checks on him because obviously Angle's on the floor and he's looking. He expected the glass to go through, and it's like, what the actual fuck? I may have just killed the boss's son. But thankfully Shane was all right. So instead of leaving that angle, they thought, come on, let's have another do. And this time Kurt puts some real stank on the suplex, and he just destroys this plexiglass with Shane McMahon's body. Shane is cut open multiple parts of his body. Angle even gets cut open, I think, on the shoulder and the leg.
Yeah.
And it just the shattering of the glass it's iconic, absolutely brutal. Just it's one of those things that will always be in wrestling lore now. Shane McMahon going through the King of the Ring sign. It's just a brilliant visual image. So good.
Just blood everywhere at this stage, though, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously not, they've not done this for dramatic effect. There is blood everywhere because what
it's
they're
proper glass
is cutting them to pieces.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And wrestling boots are they're not like standard normal footwear. It's essentially a piece of foam on the bottom of a bit of leather. So they're not the best things to walk in the first place. If you're walking on tiny shards of glass, it's almost like walking on ass. So they're both really struggling to even walk about. I mean, Shane he's fucked, absolutely fucked. So there's a little bit of a battling between the two in that kind of like little closed off area behind the glass, and then you see Shane come through another piece of glass when Angle whips him back into the arena, which just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Those bumps sort of coming back into the arena from behind the setting, they looked even worse to me watching it. I don't know if it's because of the sound again, it was echoing because they were locked away a little bit more.
And it was
they
more head first as well.
Yeah.
I think that's
like
a massive
dropping
issue.
down onto the back of his neck at one point as well. That was they were bad, those ones, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It was almost like the same kind of glass you get with light tubes when you watch GCW or deathmatch wrestling. That kind of glass where it just shatters into tiny shards, and they are more dangerous than the actual big shards because they can get lodged in the skin and stuff like that. But yeah, both guys look like they've been in a war, an absolute war. Angle does attempt to pin then. And Mark Chioda, the tosser, says, "No, this can't happen. You're not allowed to pin him here." So
I wonder if they were going to end it there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe with the injuries that both of them had, they were trying to call an audible. But Mark Chioda says no. So Angle grabs essentially a massive metal trunk on wheels, puts Shane on the trunk, and essentially rolls him to the ring.
I like this. This was good.
Yeah, if that was done on the fly, that was a well played kind of audible to call.
Yeah, I agree. But then we get back into the ring, and they've obviously got the planned finish that they have that they're going towards. I think maybe they were going to call it a day a bit earlier, but whatever. But we get Kurt covering Shane after these crazy glass bumps. He gets his shoulder up at like 2.5 or 2.9 or whatever. The crowd go crazy, don't they?
Shane is now a babyface in this.
Yes.
And I think a lot of his earlier matches, he ends up being kind of like cheered by the crowd because he does put his body on the line. I mean, if you remember the match with Big Show, the guy was absolutely mocking Big Show at the time, but at the match when he was jumping off the scaffold, people absolutely loved him for it. So he kind of is so good at getting the crowd to like him because he just does. He does not care about his body. Anything to make Daddy Vince love him.
He's a crazy little bastard, isn't he? So we get back into the ring and we have a low blow by Shane McMahon to kind of, I suppose, buy himself some time, take a bit of control and so on.
Yeah, well, Angle was going to just level him with a trash can.
Yes.
A trash can lid. And Shane walloped him in the baby makers.
Exactly. We get a few shots with the trash can lid or trash can itself, don't we? From Shane to Kurt.
From his knees as well, which makes that I thought that looked really impressive. Like, obviously, he's meant to be exhausted, absolutely spent of energy. But every time Angle came towards him, he just summoned up enough energy to wallop Angle with the trash can. And Angle's selling was very much 80s wrestling style selling.
Bounce into the ropes, come back. Oh dear. Oh, got another one. Yeah, exactly.
It was really good, really good.
But it leads to Shane McMahon hitting an angle slam here, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how good does that look when Shane McMahon does it? Because he actually he doesn't just spin, he kind of jumps when he does it as well. I thought it was brilliant.
He did the angle slam. He comes up off his knees to be able to do the angle slam, which I mean, I suppose that's easier for Kurt to be able to get across his shoulders, but for him to be on his knees and then stand up whilst having Kurt on his shoulders, and then, like I said, he puts that extra kind of like little flourish on it. A really good angle slam. doesn't quite get the finish though.
No. Well, I suppose we talk about the finish now, Magsy. Shane McMahon ends up catapulted into the corner, ends up effectively up on the ropes. We get the wooden board now comes into play because Kurt nails him with it a few times to some, again, quite dramatic noises, and then sets it up like a little platform. And I thought this was quite inventive.
Yep. It reminded me of a Shield triple powerbomb. I think they did that from a table going across the rings before. It reminded me of that, but yeah, when Angle sets up the board, and very brave of him to stand on that board because it's literally just balanced across the two ropes, and then does a super duper avalanche angle slam off the top of the board.
Yeah, and that picks up the win, as it should do if you're hitting a finish like that. Brilliant stuff for me. Absolutely fantastic. A crazy mad brawl, some really iconic stunt. And again, the angle slam off that little platform. I don't know why that hasn't stuck in my mind, because it should do, because that was incredible.
Yeah, so inventive. There's a lot of really good parts in this match that get overlooked because of the plexiglass shot. That's what the match is known for. But like Shane missing the shooting star press, the wheeling Shane down with the equipment case. There's some really clever kind of not very well used tropes in wrestling in this match, and I thought it really added to the match. It really added to my enjoyment of it.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of your enjoyment then, Magsy, out of 10, what are we thinking?
Wrestling wise, it's okay. Enjoyment wise, it's almost off the charts. I really it's such a fun match. It's so entertaining to watch. There's botches here and there, but it all kind of like fits in with the fact that it's meant to be a street fight. I think this is a 9. I really enjoyed this, so I'm happy to go with a 9.
Yeah, I got 9 as well. I don't think it's... last week when we gave 10s to the Hell in the Cell match, that was fantastic from bell to bell, full of drama. I couldn't take my eyes off it. Here, almost the same, but there were 1 or 2 moments when I was a bit like, when did they go to the glass then? You know, that, so I suppose I've got to mark it down a touch, but I think 9 is pretty accurate. I mean, a 9 on our scale is very, very, very bloody good, let's be honest.
It is, absolutely. I think it got 4.5 Dave Meltzer stars as well. So to say this was over 20 years ago, and it still stands out. It would fit in to today's wrestling, and that for me is the mark of a really good match.
Yeah, no, that's a great argument, great point. So then, Magsy, next week, our Halloween special. What match shall we potentially look at?
This week, this Sunday.
This coming Sunday, when we are live. Yeah.
I was already thinking about linking to a Halloween-based match, and then you messaged today saying, shall we link to a Halloweeny match? So I was already 1 step ahead of you, sir.
Lovely.
So here we go. And obviously it has to be slightly tenuous because we've got to link it to Halloween. And this was a street fight in the middle of July. But I've got there. So this was the essentially the core main event for the King of the Ring. And the main event was the triple threat for the paranoid Stone Cold Steve Austin's WWE title, and he was facing Benoit and Jericho. Now Jericho in a headline spot here, but it was only maybe 2.5 years previously that he was a curtain jerker at a Halloween Havoc. So Halloween Havoc 1998, Chris Jericho faced Raven in the curtain jerker for the WCW World Television title. But nobody remembers Halloween Havoc 1998 for Chris Jericho versus Raven.
Oh
for the
no.
WCW World Television Title. They remember it for Hollywood Hogan
Oh
facing
no.
the Ultimate Warrior. So if you guys pick man, which you won't, so it doesn't really matter, we will be watching Hulk Hogan versus the Warrior from Halloween Havoc 1998.
It's suitable for Halloween, not just because it's on a Halloween Havoc pay-per-view, because it's fucking scary.
And it's shit.
Yeah, it is. And when you say, oh, people won't vote for me, of course they will, because they want us to watch crap. They love it when we watch shit.
That card is terrible for the Halloween Havoc 1998. There's multiple matches you could pick from that match. That card that would happily go on chain wrestling, but you see Hogan and Warrior, it's got to go up at it.
Can we not just watch Raven versus Jericho?
I mean, there is Scott Hall versus Kevin Nash on there. There is Rick Steiner versus Scott Steiner.
Okay.
There is Bret Hart and versus Sting, where there's a knockout.
Okay.
There's even a 10-minute Goldberg and Diamond Dallas Page match.
Right.
But we're going Hogan versus Warrior. Quite clearly.
Why are you the way you are? Oh dear. Okay, so Magsy's option that is obviously going to win because people don't like us to have nice things is Halloween Havoc 1998, Hogan versus the Warrior. It's fucking dreadful, but it could be fun. In fact,
it's probably not going to be fun.
It might be for us, but you know, I've got a similar route with regards to a Halloween Havoc, but I have gone with Shane McMahon being the WCW owner. WCW pay-per-view is Halloween Havoc. That's how I've got to Halloween Havoc for my link. And I've gone with 1993 Texas Deathmatch, spin the wheel, make the deal, Vader versus Cactus Jack, which is a very good match.
Yeah, and we mentioned that was part of my Hall of Fame.
It was also on a poll that lost a couple of months back. So I thought, okay, see if it does well this time. So it's a very, very good match. I mean, Vader's amazing at this time. It's brutal. It's dangerous. It's awesome. It's for the title. But we're not going to watch it because people hate us, and we're going to watch Halloween Havoc 1998.
That ain't going to work for me, brother.
So those are your options for next week's poll. Please be kind. For our special Halloween edition of Chain Wrestling Live, we have Halloween Havoc 1998, the WCW World. It is for the world title, isn't it?
No, there's no title on the line.
Okay.
Goldberg is the champion.
Oh, Goldberg's the champion. Yeah, okay. Halloween Havoc 1998, Hulk Hogan versus the returning Ultimate Warrior. I imagine we'll dive into the build-up of Warrior's return and him appearing in a mirror.
We will
and all
literally
that bullshit.
5 minutes. We'll cover the match and never speak of this again.
It didn't even air on pay-per-view, did it? It ended up fucking up the timing.
No, didn't that one air? But they didn't have enough time then for the Goldberg. I mean, we'll get into it, but this essentially cost WCW millions and millions of dollars of reimbursements.
Or we can watch something good from WCW in 1993. And there weren't a lot of good in 93, to be fair, but this is very good. Vader versus Cactus Jack, Texas Deathmatch, Halloween Havoc 1993. Those are your options. The poll will be up relatively early this week, considering we're going live a day early. Our non-wrestling topic will also be up earlier than the afternoon of the show because I forgot, and then Magsy didn't respond to my text, so I was kind of waiting around. But
you was mad. You was mad. Sent me the you when I didn't reply. You sent me the come on, like
yeah. Well, what on, make it. But yeah, I to be honest, it was late because you didn't respond, but it was also late because I forgot to do it. So we'll both take the blame, mate.
No, we won't. I already took the blame for the numbers on the episodes. So
which you haven't actually said about on air. That was before we recorded. You took the blame for that.
I mean, so I'll go through it then. I accidentally called last week's episode number 67 when it wasn't. It should have been 66. So this one is called The Numbers Don't Lie. and that spells disaster for you at Halloween Havoc.
Hogan, brother. Yes. But yeah, there we go.
There's 133 and a third % chance we're watching Hogan versus Warrior.
Oh my God. They're going to do it to us, aren't they? But yeah, there we go. Those are your options. Your non-wrestling topic and your poll will be up a bit earlier this week because we're going live Sunday for our Halloween special. Make sure you get those costume entries, I guess, into the Halloween competition sent across to the Chain Wrestling Twitter account at @chain_wrestling. DM us the pictures there, please. Yeah, I suppose that's kind of it, Maxine. I just want to jump in the chat quickly and see what anyone's saying about our potential choices.
Well, first of all, we've got Scotty Stanley saying Shane's punches are the stuff made of legends, and then Dan Griffin, if legends were made of tissue paper and lackluster farts. Oh, can you imagine? Like the mixture of tissue paper and then a lackluster fart. Oof, that don't sound good. Maybe that's why the turd was falling out of people's trousers. You never know,
mate. Maybe.
We instantly get a gah from Scottish Danny. And then, oh God, yes, Sam might cry if we end up having to watch that. Hulk's worst match, and that is a very low bar for it to be Hulk's worst match. And he's had some fucking stinkers.
I watched Hogan versus the Butcher this afternoon for my Hall of Lane. Don't make me watch Hogan Warrior next week. It's not fair.
Well, Brett versus Sting was also awful. Yeah, that ended with a knockout. Dan is trying to at least give us like a bit of almost like a trick or treat. Like the treat, we get to watch some quality wrestling, and then the trick, we end with Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. You bastards. And Scottish Daddy says, I'm just glad we didn't get Hulk versus the Giant. And Scottish Daddy also then says, do it to Dan to try and get that 50-50. No, do not do it. There is one winner in this. There's Hogan and there's Warrior. That's it.
We can't have a draw anyway. We won't have time. We'll have our non-wrestling topic. We'll have the match to look at. We'll have the competition that we're running as well. Get your entrance into that. Free merch, all sorts of goodies from TeePublic and RBF Luxuries as well. Yeah, honestly, we won't have time for a 50-50. Which, what am I saying? These bastards are just going to stitch something out, aren't they?
They are. They're going to fuck us over.
Magsy, do you want to let everyone know whereabouts they can find you online, my friend?
Yeah, well, you can find me down here at PodfatherMags on Twitter or on TikTok at MagsAllPods. Make sure you send your Halloween costume pictures into the Chain Wrestling Twitter, which is at chain_wrestling, before Sa doesn't remember to tell you all that. We'll be in costume as well. So look forward to man. I have to top the Victorian doctor costume. I'm just excited to see what Sa will be looking like. But yeah, that's where you can find me on Twitter at PodfatherMags or on TikTok at MagsAllPods.
There we go. You can follow the network that releases this show at SJP World Media on Twitter and Facebook. And from there, you get all the great shows that the network carries, covering all sorts of wrestling, all sorts of TV, new shows coming all the time. We have this month's episode of Back When with Scottish Danny and Tyler Peters coming out in the next couple of days, looking at the movie Halloween. I have listened to it. It is fucking fantastic. It is the best episode they have done yet. And that says a lot because the previous episodes were awesome too. So make sure you check that out. But yes, you can also, find us next Sunday live a day early. Chuck it all a follow at chain_wrestling on Twitter, at SJP World Media on Twitter. All your podcast players and so on. Make sure you're following us on there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get notifications when we go live. All that great stuff, Magsy.
Absolutely. And as we say every single week, you guys are the best part of the show. Your input, your interaction, it absolutely makes our day, makes our week. So thank you very much. And we hope that you enjoy next week's Halloween special.
Yes, episode 99 overall, our Halloween special, followed by episode 100. Bloody hell. Magsy, I'm off now to carry on trying to learn the Kyrgyzstani national anthem because I got a little bit stuck on certain words, but I'm going to get there, mate. I'm going to get there. I'll see you next week, my friend.
Bye bye.